Have you ever felt as a man or even as a woman that life is just like getting too hard, too heavy, and you have no idea what to do after? It could be depression, and I'm not a clinician, so I'm not going to diagnose you, but I want to share some things with you that has helped me out. Welcome to the Unstuck Podcast. I'm your host, Drew Cause, and if you're hearing this message and it's not May, you'll still love it. May is the month declared for mental health, and it's a subject that I believe should be talked about more, but it's also a subject that I believe should offer some type of hope when we do talk about it. If we just talk about depression, anxiety, and trauma, we can identify it, but then there needs to be something that offers hope after, and this is what I want to make this episode. So one of the questions that I usually get asked or have gotten asked is, have I dealt with depression? Yes. Now, as a black man, and maybe as a man in general, but as a black man speaking for myself, I didn't know it was depression. Now, for years, one thing that always would stick out was my birthday. I never liked celebrating my birthday, and I never knew why. I just knew it was a day where I either wanted to get away from people completely, or it was a day where I just didn't want to be even on earth. And that sounds far-fetched, but it's true. Now, with that being said, as I got into like deeper prayer times and therapy, I started realizing what the issue was. I'm not going to say what it was, not because I'm scared, but I don't want you to get hooked onto the exact thing it was. I want to give you a variety of things that it could be so that you can find yourself in the story. Now, let's just say I was depressed because maybe I didn't get things I want, or maybe because of relationships, or maybe because of financial status. It could be anything, but depression just felt normal. Now, why did it feel normal? I think as a black man, sometimes we're just so used to being either put down or a second that we usually just succumb to many things. And for men who are not black men, probably the same. You just get used to grinding, hustling, not talking, not venting. And as many people would say, men should just go to therapy, or men should just let it out. If it was that easy, we would have a better world. Like when people talk about they are safe spaces, or there are safe spaces around, they don't realize what you may consider to be a safe space may not be a safe space to somebody else. And especially as a man and a black man, what you might be considering to be a safe space may not be. What most people consider to be a safe space is them listening only to give an answer after. That's not a safe space. Or listening, but really not understanding what the person is saying. I've learned this through coaching. What the person is actually saying is usually not the real issue. There's usually something underneath what they're saying, which we could call an underlying issue. And that doesn't come out right away because the person sometimes doesn't even know that. So with this month and with this topic, I'm sharing that I was depressed around my birthday all the time. I was depressed a lot because of financial status. I was depressed a lot because I thought I was the only person who didn't have what we could deem not to be a real job. I was a fitness coach, which is a real job. You're helping people get healthy so that they can go live better for their families, their lives, and their businesses. So yes, it is a real job. With me, it was just all bunched up in one. And how did I end up finding out that I was depressed? When I started talking to my therapist, she helped me a lot, just talk things out. And I started realizing I'm not supposed to always feel heavy. I'm not supposed to always feel like there's something at my chest or on my chest. And just talking it out without someone having to give an immediate answer or to be biased, it helped me realize what it was. Now, it also helped me realize at certain times where depression would creep up or would come. And I ended up having tools to navigate through that. One of the tools, which I'm always going to say is a tool that helps, is prayer. And I'm not talking about just sitting there on your knees and just yelling out to God. That's a part of it. But sitting, resting, talking to God about exactly what you feel and asking him for answers. And sometimes those answers don't come the same exact way or the same exact day. but the answers do come. Prayer was one of them. Therapy was one of them. And honestly, one that I still use today is long walks. Taking long walks without having to have an answer or without having to figure something out has been so therapeutic for me in many ways. Prayer, therapy, walks, finding somebody who you could vent to. This can be a hard one, but there's people out there, if you can vent to somebody, the beauty in that is you start to realize that you're not going crazy. And that's what I used to feel. I used to feel I was the only guy who didn't have it all together, who didn't have all the financial achievements, who didn't have the perfect home. So many things that I could have just deemed to be not perfect and to be deemed to be wrong wasn't wrong. It was just growing pains. But in my eyes, that's how I looked at it. Now, when depression tries to come now, because that doesn't mean it's going to be all over, is I use those same tactics a lot. I pray, go back into prayer. I have a daily routine where I just talk and I let it out to God. Walk, therapy. But one that helps is friends who are not afraid to sit with you at times. And that might take you opening up. That might take you being vulnerable. And I can hear you now. What if I get hurt? What if you heal? You could get hurt. You could heal. That's a risk. You're going to take a risk either way. But for the month of May, I want to encourage you, if you don't go to therapy, please find a therapist who's not biased, one that you can connect with, because talking things out to someone who doesn't have to give you an answer is such an underrated thing. Most people who we talk to, they don't want to see us suffer, so they're usually just spewing out answers after answers. The other thing with that is having a therapist. You have somebody who is licensed to do that, right? Your best friend's not going to always be your best friend shouldn't be your therapist or your husband or your wife. I digress. The second thing is, when you know those seasons come or those things are coming, let's contact somebody. Let's figure out something that we can do. Let's just not let it come and we accept it each time. And that's what I told myself. And to wrap it up, my last birthday, which was a week ago, I felt it coming. And I said to myself, I'm not going to allow myself to welcome this today. I'm going to fight it. I'm going to talk it out. I'm going to walk it out, but I'm not going to accept it today. And I had the best birthday I've ever had in my life. Am I saying that it's always going to be that easy? No, but sometimes you have to be willing to fight, because your mental sanity is worth more than you can probably imagine. And us being mentally healthy is important. So on this podcast, the Unstuck Podcast, I'm praying that you get unstuck. I'm praying that you find help, that you heal, and that you go be great. Take care, guys.